Hello everyone. Very good morning to you all. Thank you very much for being here. Now today, what I'm going to talk about is the environmental situation on Tibetan Plateau and why Tibetan Plateau matters to the international community. Now the topic of today's presentation is why Tibetan Plateau matters. And I have divided into two parts. Part one, the global significance of the Tibetan Plateau. And part two, the current state of Tibetan rivers. Now Stephen has asked me to talk more specifically about the rivers as the World River Day coming up on 27th September. So I will focus my presentation more on the Tibetan rivers and how we Tibetans have preserved it for the past thousands of years and how it has been polluted by Chinese government in recent years. Now we're going to the actual presentation. Why Tibetan Plateau matters. We talk, every time we give a presentation to the international community, we talk about why Tibetan Plateau matters. The issue of Tibetan Plateau is not just about Tibet and Tibetan people. The issue about Tibetan Plateau is for the welfare of Asia and for the welfare of the world. When we talk about the global significance of Tibetan Plateau is called by different names, such as Tibet, the roof of the world, Tibet, the water tower of Asia, Tibet, the rainmaker, Tibet, the third pole. Now first, Tibet, the roof of the world. Tibetan Plateau is called roof of the world because Tibetan Plateau has an area of 2.5 million square kilometers, which is almost 2% of Earth's land surface, at an average elevation of more than 4,000 meters above sea level, which makes it the world's largest and highest plateau possibly ever existed. Now, if you try to Google and find first 100 highest peaks on Earth, you will find the first 100 on the Tibetan Plateau. And if you try to Google further to find out 5 highest human settlement on Earth, you will find 4 out of 5 on the Tibetan Plateau. And the one that is not found on the Tibetan Plateau is La Riconada, which is in Peru, which is next to you. Now, it was in 50 million years ago when Indian subcontinent collided with Eurasia, and the process of collision formed the world's mightiest plateau. Tibetan Plateau gained a crust thickness of more than 74 kilometers, which is twice more than average Earth's crust. Then second, Tibet, the third pole. Tibetan Plateau is also called the third pole or Earth's third pole. We have the North Pole and South Pole. Now the definition of the pole is these are areas that are most glaciated on Earth. And the third most glaciated region on Earth is the Tibetan Plateau. Tibetan Plateau is home to 46,000 glaciers, which makes it the third largest store of ice on the North Pole and South Pole. The name Third Pole was first used by famous Swiss explorer Marcel Cousteau in 1933 when he visited the Mount Everest region and described the area as Earth's third pole. And the term was again used by Darren Sturt in 1955 in a book published with the title To the Third Pole. Now, the significance of Tibetan Plateau being third pole is that it becomes the world's largest source of accessible fresh water. The amount of ice that's present on the North and South Pole, when melts, it goes into the ocean. But the ice that melts from the Tibetan Plateau becomes rivers, and these rivers flow into world's most populated nations. According to UNDP, the fresh water that comes from Tibetan Plateaus directly supports 1.45 billion people. And then 3, Number 3, Tibet, the Rainmaker. Now this is very interesting. Tibet is not only the world's highest plateau and also the most glaciated region, but it also influences the monsoon in India and in China. Because of its vast area and high altitude, the temperature rise on the Tibetan Plateau is thrice more than global average, which means the surface temperature is much more intense on the Tibetan Plateau. And this intense temperature pulls moisture clouds from Bay of Bengal, from Arabian Sea, and from Indian Ocean, thus bringing monsoon to India and to East China. Now, there are scientists who have said the timing and intensity of the Indian monsoon depends on the atmospheric temperature on the Tibetan Plateau. It was some 130 years ago when Sir Blandford, chief reporter of the newly established Indian Meteorological Department, issued the first monsoon forecast in 1882 based on the amount of snowfall that was recorded on the Tibetan Plateau in the preceding year's winter. So the first very monsoon was predicted based on the presence of snowfall on the Tibetan Plateau. And according to the famous scientist V. Ramanandan, he said, our understanding of global climate change would be incomplete without taking into consideration what's happening on the Tibetan Plateau. So, according to V. Ramanandan, global climate change cannot be understood comprehensively without understanding the change on the Tibetan Plateau. According to a publication in 2006 by a group of Chinese and Western scientists, they have concluded that Indian summer monsoon is intensified and East China summer monsoon is weakened because of human-induced land cover change on the Tibetan Plateau. That's because of increasing population, increasing development, increasing building of infrastructure. Not 4, Tibet as the water tower of Asia. This is very important. Asia's 6 greatest and the largest and most important rivers originate from the Tibetan Plateau, and they flow into 10 most populated nations on Earth. According to some research, Tibetan Plateau supports both directly and indirectly 40% of world population. And according to UNDP, Tibetan rivers support directly 1.5 billion people. So, almost 1/3 of world population, some way or the other, depend on Tibetan rivers. Now if you look at this, at the map I have in my presentation, you will know where Tibetan rivers flow into. You might travel any part of Asia, from Pakistan to India to Bangladesh, from Myanmar to Thailand to Cambodia and Vietnam, or to China. You will not escape Tibetan rivers. You might be far away from the geographical boundary of Tibet, but still, you will not be far away from Tibetan rivers. The places like Thailand and Cambodia, which has no geographic boundary with Tibet, but still, these nations depend on the Tibetan rivers. In Pakistan, the 2 most important rivers, Indus and Sachin, originate and flow into this country. And in India, the most important rivers in North India, Indus, Sachin, Kanali, Ganges, Brahmaputra, all originate from Tibetan Plateau. The most important river in Bangladesh, Brahmaputra, originates from Tibetan Plateau. Then Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia, Vietnam, the Mekong River and the Selvi River. 2 most important rivers in this part of the world come from Tibetan Plateau. And then to China, the Yellow River and the Yangtze River. 2 most important rivers in China. Where China's civilization actually came into existence, originate from Tibetan Plateau. Now part 2, the current state of the Tibetan rivers. Before we go to the current state of Tibetan rivers, you might be wondering why Tibetan Plateau is such a rich source of rivers. That's because Tibetan Plateau is home to 46,000 glaciers, and also 70% of Tibetan Plateau is covered by some form of permafrost or frozen ground. And Tibetan Plateau has large number of lakes and wetlands. Some of these wetlands are larger than European countries. That's why Tibetan Plateau is such a rich source of rivers, and there are hundreds and hundreds of rivers originate from Tibetan Plateau. But unfortunately, the source of Tibetan rivers are in a difficult situation. The glaciers that feed Tibetan rivers are rapidly melting. According to IPCC, 82% of glaciers have retreated in the past 50 years. According to our latest research publication in 2015 by a Chinese professor called Xichang Kang, he said, there has been no net accumulation of ice on the Tibetan Plateau since 1950s. And according to another research, it says, at the current rate of glacier retreat on the Tibetan Plateau, the 2/3 of glaciers would be gone by 2050. That's a very alarming prediction. And so there is another research which says, why Tibetan glaciers melted so fast? That's because the melting season has started earlier and lasts longer. So the process of recycling or regaining the glaciers on mountains are very short. The most visible glacier retreat on the Tibetan Plateau is around the Rumpu Glacier near Mount Everest. And then, of course, the permafrost degradation. Many of the rivers that originate from the eastern part of Tibet have their sources around permafrost and wetlands. But in the past decade, there has been almost 10% permafrost degradation. And almost 50% of Tibetan Plateau is covered with grassland, and this grassland sustained from the moisture contained stored under the frozen ground. If the permafrost degrades, 50% of Tibetan grassland would become desert. According to UNDP publication in 2007, there has been almost 2,330 square kilometers of grassland desertification on the Tibetan Plateau, which means gradually large part of Tibetan Plateau would become desert if not protected. And then the most alarming part is the damming of Tibetan rivers. Since Chinese occupation in the 1950s, China has built dams on almost every Tibetan river. According to some analysis, China has 87,000 dams, which is the largest number anywhere else. And according to the 12th Five-Year Plan, Chinese government, China plans to construct 50 more large-scale hydropower plants on the Tibetan rivers. Current target of building hydropower potential in China is 60%. But there are some officials who have advocated making it 85 to 90%, which if that happens, almost every river in China, includes Tibet, would be dammed. Now, the problem with the dam construction on the Tibetan Plateau is that the dams are both trigger and victim of earthquake. If there are large hydropower dams being built on the Tibetan Plateau, which could induce earthquake, and if an earthquake happens, the impact would be accelerated and would cause a chain reaction to the downstream countries. The 2008 Wencheng earthquake, which killed 80,000 people in China, was said to be induced by the Input Dam, which was not very far from the earthquake center. So there has been other instances like Indian earthquake, which was induced by Shiludu Dam. And these are said by Chinese experts. So the risk of building dams on the Tibetan Plateau is very threatening, not only to the ecological state of Tibet, but also the human safety of the downstream countries, and then polluting Tibetan rivers. According to some research, over 42% of China's rivers are polluted. And I could assume the remaining that is not polluted are currently in Tibet, but they are also facing the threat of being polluted. According to international rivers, almost 3/4 of China's lakes and reservoirs are unsuitable for human consumption and fishing. If that is the state of China's lakes and reservoirs, it also includes the state of Tibetan reservoirs and lakes. So the threats are immense. A recent report emerged from Tibet on September 2014, was that a mine called Jama mine not far from Lhasa, the mine released chemical waste into a river that nearby Tibetan community consume. And this releasing of chemical waste into the rivers caused death to cattle. And this river is a tributary of Tibetan capital Lhasa, and also emerged with Brahmaputra, which run into India and Bangladesh. There has been other instances of Chinese mines and factories releasing waste into Tibetan rivers and causing deaths to cattle and illness to humans and destruction to the environment. But we Tibetans have been able to preserve Tibetan rivers with freshness for the last thousands of years, but the state of Tibetan rivers has changed drastically in the last 50 years, and especially in recent years. Chinese government has discovered immense mineral resource deposits in Tibet, and they have planned to mine extensively in the Tibetan areas. And the Chinese mining companies are the worst behaved mining practice in anywhere in the world. And they release waste materials into the rivers or deposit under the ground. So how can we preserve Tibetan rivers? The best way to preserve Tibetan rivers is to protect Tibetan cultural attitude and protect Tibetan people's way of life, and protect Tibetan rivers. We Tibetans have our cultural belief in which we believe there is presence of God in the rivers, presence of God in the mountains, and presence of God in the soil. So with that, we have immense respect to the nature. With this immense respect, the natural preservation and protection comes naturally. We believe there is presence of God in every 7 inch in a river. So we never do anything to pollute or poison rivers. If Chinese government respects Tibetan culture, Tibetan way of life, and Tibetan importance of Tibetan rivers, then we can protect Tibetan rivers. If we are able to protect Tibetan rivers from poisoning, from damming, then we can protect Asia's 6 greatest rivers, or we can protect 1/3 of human population that depend on Tibetan rivers. Thank you very much.